All right, it is 5:30, so we'll call the meeting to order for the Millwood Beautification and Tree Board. So we'll take attendance. So we've got Debbie and Vicky have traded their name tags.
Oh.
So.
Oh, we have. It's going to be a start.
There we go. So we have
Not our problem.
Vicky Nacarado and Debbie Lehinger and myself, Paul Allen, and Daniel Hecox from Millwood. And Charlie Peterson is absent at this point. The minutes. Everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the main meeting?
Yes, they not. You sent these out before?
I sent them, yeah, after the last meeting.
Chelsea.
Okay, any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Nope.
Nope. We'll accept the minutes as written. Old business. So, old business, we have the Department of Natural Resources Urban Forestry Grant update. So we had a meeting with Ben Thompson from DNR and to discuss the scope of work and budget items that they needed to have us submit to them. And so we went through that and wrote out the scope that we needed that was going to be for the reimbursement items. So that's all they were looking for, was the reimbursement portion of it. So anything was going to be a match for that grant, they weren't requiring that we include that on there. So it was fairly simple, pretty straightforward. And we sent that back to them. They're working on getting the agreement finalized. So they will, once that's done, I talked to him today. He's hoping to have those out by the end of the week for us. So then once we've got that, then we can take that to council for approval for that grant, so, or the agreement, get that written up, get it back to them, and then once that's done and we meet that July 1st deadline, then any expenses that we incur after that are grant eligible. So we can kind of get the project moving here in July. Let's see. Any other old business? Nope.
No.
Okay. So on the new business, we'll review the RFQs for the tree consultant. So as I mentioned, the email I sent out that we'd just received the one proposal, which was from Community Forestry Consultants, which is Jim Flock. And so if you had a chance to review it, but it meets all the requirements that we had set forth for the RFQ. Is it? Computer shut down?
No, just.
No. Okay. So if you go back to that. There you go, now you can scroll up and down. Scroll back to, so there's this proposal, the cost breakdown. So the cost breakdown for the tree inventory assessment portion of it was $10 a site for up to or for each tree, up to 1,000 trees. So it was $10,000 for that. And then the urban forestry management plan is $15,000. And so while he's going through that, they'll be able to do the assessments, and so they'll be part of that inventory that they're actually doing, but they'll do the assessment at the same time, and then gather all the information, then they'll come back and then do that. Take the information they gathered for the assessment. It's going to be covering the species, diameter, height, spread, location with the GPS, which is like the GIS that we're going to be adding it to. Condition ratings for each of those trees, significant structure defects, and the maintenance requirements, treatment priorities, and then the limited visual risk assessment, which I'm conducting there. No, you're gonna blow that up so we can see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you scroll down a little bit? So that was task 1. Task 2 is review the relevant information. And then we'll have a couple of private meetings with the consultant, and then some public meetings too, with the open to the public, to take in for information and share some of the information that he's gathered to start working together to create our urban forestry management plan. So you just have a little diagram of what they do, or little things that you're going to be checking. Task 2.1 was to analyze the tree staff resources. So he's going to go through all of our current inventory and our resolution, for the tree board, and then he'll make sure that we're not conflicting with anything that he recommends with what we've already got. Hey, Charlie.
Traffic's terrible.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll make a note that Charlie Peterson has arrived. Okay, Charlie. We just went over the old business, which was the DNR grant update. Just a review that we had.
I wasn't here last meeting, so.
That's true. You weren't here for the last meeting either. So we did the scope and budget for DNR, and then that's the part they needed to start going through to write up the agreement. So they'll be working on the agreement. They should hopefully get that out to us by the end of the week.
This
then,
week?
Yep, that's what he's hoping. They're kind of behind on some of the, as they had a lot of grants this year. So, yeah. And then there's people who are sick, so there's been some issues with staffing. So we're just going through the RFQ. So we did receive just the one RFQ.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, from Community Forestry Consultants, Jim Flott's company. We sent actually I'll just back up a little bit. We did send out requests for proposals on the MRSC website, and so I just made the list out. There was like 10 consultants that were on there, and surprisingly, this was the only one that we received.
So you were able to get into that, okay?
Yep, generate the roster. Yep.
What was the problem?
Some people hadn't been on the roster for one thing, and then I was able to, she kind of helped me navigate through the roster to find, to sort through the roster so we could actually get the relevant information that we needed to create the roster. Okay, so now we're just going through the RFQ that was submitted, and we're meeting all the requirements that we had for the request. And so we've gone through some of the task orders. And so the task 2.2 is staff board community engagement meetings with Public Works and our board. So we'll have a meeting, get together, discuss what we're going to do for this management plan and kind of break out the timelines and get this going. Let's see, task 2.3. Funding sources analysis. So they'll be looking at some of our budgets to that to see what we've got for to make sure we keep this management plan going and sustainable. And then task 2.4 is produce a draft version of the Millwood urban forestry management plan, and then we will take that to the City Council and for adoption. Well, I guess that's actually kind of task 2.5. They'll make the recommendations. Does anybody have any questions about the RFQ? I sent everybody a copy of the one that we did receive, and hopefully you all had a chance to review it.
Yeah, no wonder. I didn't look at that.
Your email? I know it's all new to you guys with this Millwood email that we're required to use now, so, but, yeah, it's on there though. Okay, so I guess the next step is to select the consultant for the project, which seems pretty straightforward at this point since we just got the one.
We do that now?
That is item 2 for
Oh.
new businesses
Oh, there it
to
is.
select the consultant.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll need a motion to select.
I'll make a motion to select the plan from Jim Flott and Community Forestry Consultants.
Okay.
I second it.
All right. It's been seconded. Is there any discussion? No? Okay. We make the selection for Community Forestry Consultants. We'll contact Jim Flott and let him know. And then we'll take the agreement. The agreement will have to go before the City Council. So at the July meeting, we'll take it there, and then they'll okay it, and then we can start moving forward. And hopefully by then we've got our agreement with DNR, and we can start the process and set up our first meeting with Jim Flott to have our introduction to how we're going to move forward with the whole project. All right. Is there any other new business?
I have none.
No? Okay. Any comments from the board?
Did you, is there a reason why we only got the one? Was there just not that many qualified by the time the list went out, or what happened?
You know, I am not sure why. Like I said, there was 10 consultants on the MRSC roster, and we sent it out. You know, there's a lot of people on the roster. Some of them don't always do exactly these things, but because their name's on the roster and they've got a bunch of stuff that's listed on there, that they receive it. But there's only a few of the people that were on that list that I think actually do these plans.
Okay.
And like I said, there was a lot of grants that went out this year, so they may have already filled their quota with projects for the year. It's just hard to know why. But,
It's not permanent.
perfect.
It's not permanent. Live enough.
Technical difficulties? Okay. Because we're on this YouTube format, kind of subject to whatever the streaming capabilities are, so if it stops for a little bit, then we have to pause the meeting for just a second. Any staff comments? No? No, we're just gonna keep pressing forward on this project, and hopefully we can get going and stay on our timeline. I think that we have the ability to do that once we get the agreements all in place, that we can move on this fairly quickly, as long as Jim Flott is available.
Did he give you a timeline?
He told me that he didn't feel it was going to take a real long time to do this process.
And he could start it when we were ready, or?
I think, yeah. Problem is, all of these people that got all these municipalities that got grants for their projects, the start date is July 1st for everybody to be able to begin their projects. So.
So we want our ducks in the row by July 1st,
That's
so we can.
what we're trying to do, yeah. Try to get everything in a row. So we will contact Jim tomorrow and, let him know that we selected him. We just have to take it to the council in July, but for him to go ahead and put us on the schedule to get going on it. Then we'll have a better timeline when he can set up that initial meeting, and then he can lay out the timeline then for all of us. Okay, any public comments?
All righty.
Okay, so I'm going to just introduce you, is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay, so this is Cody Rollins.
Yep.
Okay, and he actually lives in Millwood, and he's a certified arborist.
Not ISA certified, but I'm a utility arborist. So I work for the power company. I've done it for about 10 years now.
So him and Daniel ran into each other and mentioned that we had a tree board meeting, and so he showed up to
Welcome.
come see us. Yes. So nice to have somebody in the biz, in the hood.
Yeah.
So. All right. So next meeting, so as we mentioned last, we've got our regular meetings, and they're, kind of quarterly now. But so once we have this, get Jim on board, then we will set up some special meetings. So I didn't put anything down for our next meeting, but the next regularly scheduled meeting will be, 3 months from now?
September?
September.
Right. But I know that we're going to be meeting before that. So once we have that date from Jim Flott, then we'll contact everybody and let them know.
Great.
All right. Well, if there's no further business, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Oh, this is a long one.
That was a fairly quick one.
Yeah.
It was.
This is exciting. We need to get it all into place.